Okay, hi everyone. My name is Obianuju. So this is a reaction video to a news that I've just seen on Linda Ikiji's blog about paternity fraud, and I think it's beginning to set in with us, and we need to start asking questions. So a company called Smart AI came up with some data which to me was not accurate, about 24%. So one in every child that it tested happened to not be for the said the father who came to test, which is about 20 something percent. So in that report they had said, I think the age range, they did quote the age range being between 30 and either 41 or 40 something. And what they refused to do was to tell us how many how many people were tested. Now, I went to the website of Smart AI and I realized that there was a tagline on it which said that paternity fraud was a crime. I mean, I like the fact that it was set up to give families who have paternity fraud issues closure. However, that also makes the whole conversation a skewed one. Now, if that company has customers whose intention was to prove paternity, does that not invalidate the fact that we cannot use data from people who are already suspecting their wives to judge the whole of Nigerians? Now, let me put it in context for you. What that means is that if 1,000 men already suspect their wives of, not being faithful, and they go to Smart DNA, to say that, oh, okay, we want to test our wives, and they come out with saying, oh, we did test you people, but one in four of you, your children are not yours. How does that speak of Nigerians as a whole? What that means is that the data is not a random data. What it means is that that data was already skewed. That data was for those who were already suspecting their wives, and so it does not cover families who don't have issues around unfaithfulness. So can we see how this whole data proves wrong from inception? The people who are giving the samples are not random, and so we can't set a whole country up on a negative trajectory because of a few people who already have issues in their marriages. And so that's why we need to ask questions. Sometimes when some of these records come, we need to ask questions. I work with a lot of data. Right in front of me is some user samples that I'm analyzing, and so I'm very familiar with this, which is why I'm saying, now you don't just come with and tell us, oh, how many percent. No, the question is, how many people were tested? Are you telling me now that if 100 people were tested, 100 people who are already suspecting their wives were tested, does that cover the whole of Nigerians? It doesn't. So the question is, how many people were tested? How many of them were random tests that were not people who suspected their wives? How many states in Nigeria did that cover? Until we're able to get, those backing data about the, about the test, then it's not enough for a company to just come, just release data like that. It's obvious already that that company was set up, for something, for a particular need, which is not a need of majority of Nigerians. I don't think the percentage of people who would have issues around infidelity would probably be up to 25% in Nigeria. I don't think so. I don't think we're that promiscuous, right? So if the only reason why we have that high number is only because the people who came to them needed that closure. And so it's wrong to judge a whole country, a whole people by data that is not accurate. And that's why I felt to do this video, because I was on that, I was on the blog, and people were just, I did ask these questions, and people were like, no, she's already scared, women are already scared. I don't have issue with DNA, but sometimes I think objective people like us who have like the professional understanding of how these things are, should be able to lend our voices. It's actually wrong, for us to judge the whole of Nigerian families with skewed data. And so that's why I felt to do this. Yeah, I know people will still argue with this, but the truth of the matter is that is what it is. So yeah, See you later. But yeah, next time, please give us the accurate data and don't just give us sensational headlines and things like that. No, we're getting way more sophisticated for such headlines. Cheers.